regards to the NBA in-season tournament. Now, there was a lot of talk about this over the last few years. Adam Silver had mentioned certain ways to make the regular season more exciting, bring some more excitement to the regular season, and this was an idea that they came up with. We have a video here narrated by Richard Jefferson that will break down everything we need to know in regards to the new NBA in-season tournament.
First up is group play. All 30 teams will be split into 6 groups, 3 from the East, 3 from the West, with a random draw based on last year's regular season records. Each team in a group plays each other 1 time, a total of 4 games, 2 at home, 2 on the road.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
Now, those games happen Tuesdays and Fridays in November, so set your calendar. Basically, these regular season NBA games also count as tournament games. Now, in each group, the team with the best group play record after those 4 games, they're moving on. The team with the next best record in each conference, those 2 are the wild cards. Always watch out for the wild cards. Now, we get to the knockout round. 8 teams, single elimination, and you know what that means. Win and move on, or lose, and you're out. And the last 4 teams standing, guess what? You're headed to Vegas, baby. That's right. In Las Vegas, the semifinal battles will get us to the championship game on December 9th. 2 teams in a winner-take-all final to be named champion and be awarded the first ever NBA Cup. Come on now. Look, there's a lot to look forward to this season. Players on new teams, rookies new to the league, and teams just looking to make some noise. And the NBA in-season tournament is going to be a can't-miss, must-see, high-stakes, high-level competition. And if you're a hoops head just like me, I promise you, you're going to love it.
Okay, so that was Richard Jefferson narrating the inaugural NBA Cup. That's what they're calling it, the first tournament, in-season tournament in NBA history. So the semifinal round, the top 4 teams will be going to Vegas, and then obviously the championship game will also be in Vegas. Starts November 3rd. We're going to also pull up the group, each groups in each conference, and Nick and I are going to break down and give our thoughts on what these teams are looking like, what these groups are looking like, and who might come out as the victor. So here we go in the West A group. We got the Memphis Grizzlies, the Phoenix Suns, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Utah Jazz. West B group is the Denver champions, Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Clippers, New Orleans Pelicans, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Houston Rockets. And the West C group, you have the Sacramento Kings, Knicks, Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, Oklahoma City Thunder, and the San Antonio Spurs. Now in the Eastern Conference, East A, got the Philadelphia 76ers, Cleveland Cavaliers, Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers, and the Detroit Pistons. The B group is the Milwaukee Bucks, the New York Knicks, the East champions of last year, the Miami Heat, the Washington Wizards, and the Charlotte Hornets. And the last group in the Eastern Conference, you have the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the Toronto Raptors, the Chicago Bulls, and the Orlando Magic. So it's just exciting things. This kind of reminds me of, soccer a little bit, the Premier League, La Liga. They're really, trying to implement some new things in the regular season for the NBA. Nick, what's your thoughts?
I don't know, man. It's honestly, the NBA, they've been talking about this for the past probably like 4 to 5 years. They've been talking about, hey, possibly a mid-season tournament. I didn't know if it was actually going to go into fruition, but now that it was announced, shout out to Richard Jefferson for that breakdown. I guess, I give credit to Adam Silver. I give credit to the Players Association for trying to continue to just be creative and find new ways to make the season exciting, because at the end of the day, 82 game season can be a lot sometimes, and at least for teams or for a lot of players, sometimes you're not going to get the best out of certain players and certain teams because there's possibly 4 to 5 games in a week. There's like 12 to 15 games in a month, so a lot of wear and tear on the body. As the season progresses, you're going to have those games where you're not going to be as motivated to play or as motivated to compete on a nightly basis. So, with this tournament coming in hand, I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing because I want to check it out, but I guess I do have my concerns. One of my concerns probably could be, with it being in November, are we going to be able to get the best out of the players because it is the beginning of the year, and a lot of around like November, December, like I'm the type of guy that says that the NBA season doesn't really get exciting until like around Christmas time, because a lot of teams and players are trying to use that first month or 2 months to really find themselves, to really get in the best shape possible, build that chemistry with one another. So, hopefully once this tournament comes around, we will possibly get the best out of these players. Hopefully everybody will be well conditioned and will be ready to play. But, I give credit to the NBA for trying to be creative. The question is, like how much leverage does this possible tournament have? Obviously it's not as big as possibly winning a championship, but how many of these guys are really going to come in and really compete as far as, taking it serious as if it was a championship? I know for people who watch the WNBA, they've had the Commissioner's Cup over the past 3 to 4 years. I want to say, I think the last champion was the Las Vegas Aces from last year. So they did have like that whole regular season thing where, they do have Commissioner Cup play during the regular season, and then, the top teams from that who are, with the best record from that end up playing for the actual Commissioner's Cup, midway through the year. So I guess I can see something as that, but it's just so tough. I don't want to say that I hate it, but it's like also like I'm just kind of concerned to see, will these guys give us our best play? Because to me, it's like, you can't really get a lot of these guys to really compete in the All-Star game. It's like, like how are these guys going to really compete here? So, like I said, I don't want to diss it. I'm happy that the NBA is continuing to be creative and find new ways to make the season more interesting, but I guess I just want to see how it's going to pan out in the first season to see, and I guess I'll probably give you my objective on it after that.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of it. It's new. It's exciting. I remember a lot of people had criticisms about the play-in. They weren't a fan of the play-in, and then as soon as it was implemented, you saw, how it gave multiple teams, and 3 more teams, 2 more teams an opportunity to make the playoffs. It just added more intensity and added more focus to those teams. Okay, now of course, obviously you want to get into that top 6 because that solidifies you getting into the playoffs automatically. But you being a top 10 team in your respective conference also gives you an opportunity to make the playoffs. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and for the play-in, I remember people criticized it, and now everybody's a fan, and that's what everybody talks about now. When we talk about the NBA and right before the playoffs. I think this will be the same thing. Sometimes when you have new things, people are going to have critics. I don't see what's wrong with it. It's in the regular season. The games count as regular season games, so it's not like it's separate from. It's not like it's separate from the season. These games count, so it's just. I think it's a tournament within the season, and I think it's going to add some more excitement. Of course, it's never going to be to the level of winning an NBA championship, but it creates more stories, creates more content for us, for guys like us to have this show. We can make a whole segment on this now. It's a whole new segment that we can bring into our show. So I think it adds an element for content creators. And like I said, for the players too, even though in a way it's a shame that they had to add this for players to play more in the regular season. We know we've heard different narratives about load management and teams tanking because they didn't want to. They wanted to get a certain number in the lottery the following year to draft a certain player that's highly touted coming out the draft. But this changes some things, man. This changes some things. And now when you have this tournament type style in the regular season, you could really see who's focused during this time. And as we saw last year, when the Denver Nuggets won the championship, they had the number 1 seed. They had home court throughout the entire playoffs, and that played a big factor into them winning the championship. I mean, they only lost one time at home all playoffs, and that was Game 2 of the NBA Finals. So I'm a fan. I said that at the top of the segment. It kind of reminds me of what they do in soccer, and I like some of these groups too. I mean, we could talk about these groups. I was the first thing I saw was East B. Yeah, obviously, me and a Knicks fan, that's a tough group for us. You got the Bucks, you got the Miami Heat. Obviously, the Wizards and the Hornets are in a rebuilding mode. But Bucks and the Heat, those are two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So, I really want to see how we fare in this tournament type style against those teams. You look over to the Western Conference, West A. You got the Grizzlies, the Suns, and the Lakers. Those are going to be some exciting games. And you got I like the Utah Jazz too. Utah Jazz is a sleeper team, one of my sleeper teams going into next season. I like some of the moves that they made. I like some of the young players like Keontae George that they was playing in the summer league the other night. They're going to be really good. Walker Kessler, obviously hired Walker Kessler. So it's exciting. Nuggets, Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, and the Rockets. I think that's the best group out of the 6 that we have here. The Rockets are on the rise. We're obviously going to get into the Rockets win tonight against the Pistons, and the stellar play of Jabari Smith Jr. so far this weekend. Dallas made some really good moves. I felt like Dallas and the Lakers had the 2 best off seasons this summer. You got the champions. You got the Clippers, who we all know on paper, they're the best on paper team we've seen in the last 5 years. Hopefully they could figure that out this year with Kawhi and Paul George back into the fold, and Westbrook coming in, being there again. And the Pelicans, again, is one of the greatest, might go down as one of the greatest what ifs. If they can't stay healthy, we'll see if they can stay healthy. Zion could get healthy, and B.I., if those guys could stay on the court together. We saw what they did when they were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference during that time. So I'm a fan. I like the move. You see the Kings and the Warriors going at it again. We know that was a fantastic first round in the playoffs this year. Went to 7 games. Timberwolves going to be on the rise. And then we see that those bottom 2 teams in West C, we've been talking about this for a while. Chet Holmgren versus Victor Wembanyama. We're going to see that as well. So I think it's great. And I think it's going to add another element to the NBA season. And I'm excited to see how it plays out. I really do. Again, it's just like, if you don't play hard, it's like, if you don't play hard, it just, you don't want to win in the regular season. Right? Because these count for, like I said earlier, these count for regular season. It's not like the All-Star game where it doesn't matter. The game doesn't matter. There's no incentive in going 100%. One, because it's in the middle of the season, you want to be healthy towards the second half of the season. And again, you don't gain anything from trying to go all out. Here, you gain something. Yeah, you get the award, but you also increase your record, which could increase your seeding in the playoffs. So I'm a fan. I like the move, and we'll see who becomes the first NBA Cup champion.
I think, to me, and this is just my perspective, like, I would have loved if it would have been like more so like in January, possibly than November. Because I mean, it's like I said earlier, November is kind of the time where a lot of teams, they're trying to build that chemistry. They got some new additions to the roster. They're trying to get into the best shape possible. So I feel like after maybe 2 months into the regular season, things are starting to heat up. We're already seeing like who's the best teams in each conference. I feel like January probably would have been the best. I mean that's just my opinion personally. But I mean, I can understand from your perspective. It does give players a reason, or teams a reason to really compete in the regular season. So, at the end of the day, I mean, these do count as regular season wins. So it's not like you can just kind of blow past these games like they're possibly preseason or anything. So, I think that definitely does help. So, I am looking at the list of teams. Honestly, I'll be honest, man. I like that East A. I like that East A a lot. I like what Cleveland's doing. Cleveland's obviously a team that's a playoff contender that's on the rise. Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton as a franchise player. They still got Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin. They just added Bruce Brown as well, and Obi Toppin as well, former Knick. The Pistons, they're going to be a young, hungry team. I love what they're doing. I don't know if people have been watching, but Asar Thompson, who has really been showing his value as a scorer, one of the Thompson twins. Then on top of that, honestly, man, I don't know people. I mean, we're going to dive into this later, but man, like if you're watching what guys like James Wiseman has been doing and Jalen Duren has been doing, especially in yesterday's game, I think they played the Magic yesterday. But if you've been watching what this young team does, and then on top of that, you add the addition of a Kate Cunningham, Jaden Ivey has also been playing as well. Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley, and the rest of these guys, man, like that's gonna be a hungry team as well. So I like East A. West B is good too. That's a lot of contenders plus the Mavericks and the Pelicans who are on the rise as well. The Nuggets who are champions, they're gonna be coming out, with some hunger, trying to defend their crown. The Clippers, as like you mentioned, there's questions surrounding that team. They just re-signed Russ, to be their starting point guard once again. Is Kawhi gonna come back healthy? Is Paul George gonna come back healthy? So that's interesting. Same thing with the Mavericks as well. They just re-signed Kyrie as well. I actually just saw Kyrie sitting courtside at the Summer League game with both Mark Cuban and Jason Kidd. So that's definitely a good look. It seems like everything's everything's good as far as within the organization. So we'll see how they we'll see how they come out as well. So I guess you could say from a different perspective. I guess it does give teams a reason to really come out. With a lot of motivation and a lot of fire, especially early into the season, because the season's probably gonna start late October, probably like 24th or 25th or something like that, probably closer to Halloween, and then you just go right into this like possibly like 2 weeks later. So I guess you could say it is exciting. I just want to see how it pans out first. But it's like I say, I give the NBA a lot of credit for just trying to just keep things creative and keep things interesting.
Yeah, I understand your point about potentially they could always change the time to start the tournament. I feel like it makes sense November 3rd because what do we always say? We say the second half of the season, that's when teams start to turn it up and take it to a next level. So that's kind of already a pre-playoffs, if you will. That's kind of like the prelude to the playoffs that after All-Star break. So now you add something similar or a similar type feel at the start of the regular season. I think it's a good look. It's not too long. It's not a bunch of games. So I think this is calm, man. I think this is a good idea. Obviously, they can always change things up as the years go by. But it's just I think it's going to be exciting. I think these teams and obviously the stars on each team are going to take this to another level, and the coaches as well. You can't half-ass, bro. These games count. So you just want to sit around. You don't want to be focused. You want to sit guys out. I think there are going to be some teams that really don't care about this.
That's what I was going to ask too, though. Yeah. Like, do you think like teams like the Lakers, like LeBron's going into year 21? Do you think that he's really going to care about something like this, or even like the Warriors or the Clippers? I mean, I guess a lot of these teams, like with a lot of older players, do you think that they're going to care as much as like maybe like a lot of like the 24, 25-year-olds?
I mean, teams are going to do what's best for them. Obviously, that's a given, right? That's ultimately dependent. Each team is different. Like you said, there's some teams with some veterans that need some rest. But the regular season starts October 18th, so this is only like a couple weeks before. So you're sitting out after 2 weeks of the regular season. What is like? What are you doing? It's 2 weeks. Just the season just started 3 weeks ago, and you're already out.
I mean, we've seen it before.
I mean, no, I know. I know. That's what I'm saying, and that to me is just insane. And I go back to the Nuggets where they were great the whole entire year, and I think that means something, man. We used to see that growing up back in the day. We used to see these dominant teams play well in the regular season and the playoffs. They didn't coast in the regular season and then turn the switch on in the playoffs and try to, because that's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do to develop the right habits once the playoff starts and then turn it on. You're supposed to develop those habits and fail and succeed and figure out what's right for you and develop chemistry between teammates and coaching staff in the regular. That's the whole point of the regular season, is to do all those things. So, if you're not going to give 100% in this, more times it's rare that we see a team, not be great in the playoffs and then turn it around in the postseason and win the championship. Honestly, think about it. It's rare. It's rare. You really don't see it. You really don't see that type of team. I know we've seen some LeBron-led teams, not be great in the regular season, and they turn. But that's a rare occurrence, man. Usually, the best team plays well in the regular season and in the postseason. So this is cool. This is cool. We'll see what happens. And as I said earlier, it just adds more. It's more content for us. It's more content for us.
Right.
We can talk about these games. These are more reels, more YouTube shorts and TikToks, more threads. We're gonna get into that too. More thread clips that we could add to our page. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see who wins the chip and who wins this NBA Cup chip. I saw the trophy. I don't like the trophy. It just
I
looks
didn't even
like
see the trophy.
It looks like the Larry O'Brien trophy with the basketball off it. So it's like, I think they could have done a better job and been more creative with that. But in terms of this concept, I'm a fan, man. I really am, man. I'm excited to see how it plays out for sure.
Right. And I guess one thing that just kind of came to mind for me when it comes to this tournament now is we get a chance to really see all 30 teams kind of compete, because in the playoffs you only get 16 teams, the best 8 teams in the West and the best 8 teams in the East. So now we have an opportunity to see a lot of these young players who may not have playoff expectations, may not even, qualify for the playoffs, but we'll get to see them early in the season, being able to compete at a high level like this. So I guess from like a young player's perspective, like a rebuilding team or a team like, like a lower tier team, I guess you can see it from that perspective of them being able to compete at the highest level and kind of get a feel for, what it is to play in that type of atmosphere. You on mute, bro.
Okay, we got a couple comments here. We got a guy, Michael. Sorry guys, tech difficulties suck. Still trying to join live with you, bro. Yeah, bro. If you could join us, that'd be great, man. Obviously. Miss you, brother. Then I got my guy Taekwon. I feel it'd be good for the reserves, my fault. But my thing is, you always run the risk of injury before the season even starts. But yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about that, you just got to go out there and play. You got to go out there and play. If you're thinking about injuries, the first 3 weeks of the season, like, I mean, just don't play, right? I mean, it's like there's only one or two things going to happen. You're either going to get hurt or not get hurt. You train in the off season. You put your body through rigorous workouts for you not to get injured. Now, of course, things happen, but yeah, man. I mean, if you're worried about injuries and things of that nature, then that's a whole different discussion. So.
No, I get it. I mean, I guess from his perspective, I get it. Especially with a lot of these fragile players. Like, let's say, for instance, Kawhi Leonard begins the season fully healthy, ready to go, and then they play in this tournament game, and I don't know, he sprains his ankle. Now he's out for like 6 to 10 weeks or something like that. Then the whole narrative is just going to be, oh man, like they should have never implemented the in-season tournament and all that. I mean, at the end of the day, injuries are a part of the game anyway. So I mean, you can't really control that. So No, go ahead, bro. I'm good.
I'm just saying that's a bad narrative, though, don't you think? Because it's like, okay, because he could get, because it's just a regular season. It's the same thing. It's like if you take away the NBA Cup and he got hurt in the regular season, you're saying the same exact thing. Like our guys, you should go hard in the regular season, bro. Like this is your record should mean everything to a team. That should mean everything to a team. Getting the number 1 seed, getting a top seed, getting a home court advantage. That's big time. It's big time. It just is. So we're really going to see, again, this will be a true test to see the mindset of these franchises. So I'm excited. I'm excited for sure.
It's a fact.